The next key concept that I need to deal with, or that I think is so important in order to understand Tanakh and then into the Newer Testament, is the concept of exile. And we've spoken about the concept of exile a little bit before when we did the geography of Israel, when we looked at the concept of desert. Because often the concept of desert and the concept of exile have lots of connections with each other. The exile, of course, the one that we most refer to is the exile of the southern kingdom of Judah with Babylon, or in Babylon from 586 BC. And they're in captivity for around about 60 or 70 years, depending on how you measure it, 60 or 70 years. And it's that time when, in fact, the exile becomes part of that. What we need to see is that concept of exile, that concept of not being where you want to be, of being outside of the promised land, is a very important one for Tanakh. And it also is important within the Newer Testament as well. We see that Jesus, after he was baptized, is led out into the desert for 40 days. We see that the Israelites, when they come out of Egypt, drift around the desert for 40 years. When Paul becomes a Christian, he goes into the desert of Arabia and spends some time there working through what he's now come to understand about Jesus. It's in all those concepts of exile, that exile is an important theme, an important concept within the whole perspective of Tanakh and then into the New Testament. It's a concept that involves things like purification, preparation, are two of the basic things that come out of that. Very similar to the images that connect with the desert. Of course, the people do come back from exile. They come back into the promised land. But in a sense, it's what they've learned in the process. It's almost the time in which they're able to reconnect with God in that opportunity of exile. And so in a sense, what we need to understand from that as well is that exile, therefore, is not an end to something, but rather it's an opportunity. It's the opportunity to reconnect with God. It's an opportunity to reconnect with what God would have us understand and connect with or be part of in terms of our relationship. The exile, therefore, really determines so much of the thinking of Judaism. It's the place where they are able to come to terms with what do they believe and what ended up, or why did they end up in this place of separation? Why did they end up in this place with no land, no temple, no city, no promised land? Why did they end up here? It's an image, or it's a concept that allows them to reconnect with God, reconnect with who God wants them to be, and then rededicate themselves to the process of living that out.